Guys, it's Tina. Welcome back to my channel. Today I want to talk with you about reflection and thinking about the past. I know it can be difficult for a lot of people because you have to revisit things that perhaps you don't want to revisit, but it is abundantly important. As I have been proposing in multiple videos, I hope you all are working on your 2020 plans and setting goals for the future. Part of setting goals for the future and understanding what you want is knowing what worked for you in the past and what didn't work for you in the past, and taking lessons from those experiences. I had already planned on doing a 2019 year in review type video for you, but I also happened to be reading a book just the other day. It's called How Successful People Think by John C. Maxwell. Sorry, the lighting's a little bit off, but that's the cover of it. I will put a link in the description box. It's a book that's filled with a lot of content, but it's also a workbook. So as you're working through it, you'll see that there are questions where you've been given space to write answers and to comment on your own experiences. The reason I bring this up is because he writes this about annual review, and I had been in the habit of doing annual reviews anyway, just because I want to always walk into the new year with goals that are more representative of what has changed for me in the prior year and how I've grown as a person. What content did I read? What did I learn? What experiences did I have that influenced the goals I want to set going forward? And he writes, as I go through this process, my goal is to reflect on how I spent a year of my life, learn from my successes and mistakes, discover what I should try to repeat, and determine what I should change in the coming year. And he proposes to ask these questions: what did I learn? What should I share? And what must I do? I think this is a fabulous way to think about it. And by the way, if you're interested in this book, I have to tell you, it is chock full of amazing quotes. I have an Instagram account called Picture It Tina, where I share quotes all the time. And I have marked up this book so much because so many of the quotes from this book will ultimately end up in that Instagram account as well. So check out that Instagram if you are a quote lover, much like myself, because I find them highly motivating and inspirational. In this particular chapter, he writes a quote from President George Washington: "We ought not to look back unless it is to derive useful lessons from past errors and for the purpose of profiting by dear-bought experience." You're looking back to learn about what from the past was meaningful to me, what was important, and what can I use to have a stronger and more powerful future that can shape me in a more confident way. Here's another quote from Mark Twain that really expresses the same thing. "We should be careful to get out of an experience only the wisdom that is in it and stop there, lest we be like the cat that sits on a hot stove lid. She will never sit down on a hot stove lid again, and that is well, but also she will never sit down on a cold one anymore." Take the lesson that is prudent and that will actually serve you going forward. Let's dig into my own 2019 goals. And if you've watched my 2020 planning video, you'll see that I selected different categories in this year than what I chose in the prior year, simply because I had found the Dave Ramsey video and some other content that helped me define categories differently. Last year, my categories included the following: faith, family, finances, fitness, and then fun/home. From a faith perspective, I wanted to read the full Bible. I had already read certain parts of the Bible multiple times, but I'd never finished the full Old Testament. So that was one of my top objectives for the year, and I did accomplish that one. I also had been listening to a YouTuber named Doreen Virtue, who really encouraged doing the full Bible in a year, and I thought, that sounds like a reasonable thing. I did not hit that goal. The Bible is a huge set of scriptures. For those of you who are familiar with it, which probably most everyone is, it's very difficult to read and to stay focused. Some of the stories are extremely exciting, and for those ones I fly through, but other parts of it, especially the prophecies, they can be very difficult to understand, and it's difficult for me to stay focused on them. So admittedly, I only read about 70% of the Bible as a goal with this Bible in a year objective that I'd set. So I stuck to the reading assignments per day about 70% of the time. And then my last one was fasting. I'm a firm believer that fasting has many medical benefits and also that it has spiritual benefits, and that as you Learn to say no to yourself and instill a discipline of, turning away from current desires. And by the way, when I say fasting, it could be fasting from food, it could be fasting from liquids, it could be fasting from certain types of foods or liquids. Maybe it's a soda fast, or maybe it's a candy fast. But it could also be fasting from behaviors that you don't want. It could be fasting from television. It could be fasting from drinking alcohol. It could be fasting from gambling. There's a whole slew of activities that really don't benefit us as people and probably harm us in many ways, either because of the setting we're in or because of the outcome of those actions. And so to fast and to withdraw from those things for a period of time strengthens the spirit man within you, and I think personally will bring you closer to God. That was a big one for me. I did practice fasting throughout the year, and I will continue to do that in the coming year. And as a matter of fact, I'm going to incorporate intermittent fasting from a food perspective in 2020 so that I can improve some of my fitness goals as well. When it comes to family, we really wanted the kids to get involved with a lot of sports. So we got them involved in gymnastics, jiu-jitsu, and wrestling, and also soccer and basketball, but those were not long-term sports. Those were short ones through the rec center. I was really pleased with our involvement there. It takes a lot of time from the family. For me, having to get the kids to practice and then to the games, and then for the children to be involved and have to still get their schoolwork done and attend classes, it can be hard to fit these things in. So I was really pleased that we accomplished those goals in the way that we did. And then we also had plans to travel more. We had listed Rapid City, Connecticut, Kansas City, St. Louis, and San Antonio on our list. We did not end up going to Rapid City or to Connecticut, things with those family members. In one trip, just the time it would have taken and the cost it would have taken was more than we could afford. And then in the second trip, it just didn't pan out with the family we wanted to travel with. So that would be the Rapid City and the Connecticut trips, respectively. But we did end up going to St. Louis. We did make it to Kansas City. We did make it to San Antonio. And as a bonus, we went to Tulsa as an unexpected getaway for my birthday weekend. Finances. We had set a goal to pay off our duplex, which is our investment property, to $30,000 or lower. So we really wanted to pay it down tremendously. We hit that goal, and then we blew it out of the water by choosing to pay off the duplex in whole. So because of this, we now have a mortgage-free investment property as well as a mortgage-free primary residence. This is a big deal for us because now the money coming out of the duplex is completely passive income. Aside what we have to set aside for maintenance and for taxes, that is our money outright. I am going to do a series of videos in the new year, in the first quarter, that will be dedicated to our investment property, purchasing it, what we've done to protect ourselves, why we chose to pay it off, how we went about finding tenants. And we're still new at a lot of this. Our processes are not very standardized, but I feel that it's worthwhile information, and I feel that a lot of you may have as part of your financial goals to acquire investment properties that can bring in rental income. Then for finances, I also wanted to find a new job. It was my strong desire that I would find a job that would pay me equal or more than what I make today. I think that should be a goal for everyone. And I hit some roadblocks in this. The company that I'm in, I have a wonderful reputation with, but they're introducing a location strategy that's prohibiting me from taking a new job without having to move to one of our hub locations, which I really don't want to do right now. We've only been in Missouri for a little while, and we haven't gotten everything out of Missouri that we want to yet. And I will tell you guys too, I am a firm believer that if I go to open a door and it won't open, it means that wasn't the door for me. And if a door closes in my face, that means it's time to look for a new door. So, in other words, if an opportunity doesn't pan out, it really just means that it wasn't the opportunity for me. A better one is around the corner, and I need only have patience until it is within my grasp. Fitness. Oh gosh, you guys. I really wanted to lose a significant amount of weight last year, and I totally blew it. I will say that I did get down to my pre-pregnancy weight. With both my children, I gained a significant amount of weight. I want to say I gained 60 pounds for my 60 pounds for my second child and 70 pounds for my first child. So I really packed it on. And in my mind, I thought it would all just melt off, and that was not true. So the intermittent fasting that I want to do in 2020 will help me get back to a lower weight. But I do want to take a moment to count my success for getting back to a pre-pregnancy weight. When I got pregnant, I was already a little bit overweight, so I am overweight now, but at least I'm back to a starting point that I was back in my early 30s versus where I was even just 2 years ago. I wanted to run a 5K. I did that. I did it on my own though. So in 2020, a goal is to do it with, an official race versus just running a 5K loop that I found on my own. And then also I wanted to get more physically active with hiking. We did go on a couple of hiking trips, so I'm going to count that as like a 50% success. But I will tell you that something I did not anticipate when I set that goal was I was not prepared for the amount of ticks and bugs that live in Missouri. Like, the tick problem here is outrageous, and I'm afraid of Lyme disease. So I'm not sure how we're going to solve this problem in the future, but I will tell you that, yeah, we're probably only going to hike in winter and winter. Probably only in winter, because spring, summer, and fall is all still tick season, and I don't know how to get around it. And then lastly, my category for fun and home was really to make some new friends because we are still pretty new to the Missouri area. I did make 2 new mom friends. I'm happy about that. So a little bit more of an acquaintance than a full-on friend, but I'm hoping that it will grow and blossom. And then lastly, there were several rooms of the house we wanted to paint. We only got to about half of them. But while I didn't hit all of my goals for 2019, I do want to talk about a couple things that caused me to sort of pivot and shift gears. There are 2 things I did in 2019 that were not part of my original goals. The first one is I became a certified personal finance coach through Ramsey Solutions, and I started taking on clients from a, fees waived perspective so that I could get experience and start building that as a potential business going forward. And then lastly, YouTube. YouTube takes a lot of time and energy. It's planning, it's, figuring out content, it's recording, it's editing. There's quite a lot that goes into it. And at the start of 2019, I didn't plan to revive my YouTube channel. I thought maybe I would just leave it out there and see about it in the future. But with the personal finance coaching program, I became more invigorated about the content and the things I want to share with all of you. And so with that in mind, I did reestablish my YouTube channel, and I'm putting a lot of time and energy into that took away from the extra exercise or the other, like the painting the family room. I'm very pleased with everything that I've accomplished in 2019, and I know what are now the things I really want to focus on in 2020. All right, guys, now for some of the hard parts. There were quite a few things that I'm disappointed with myself about. One of them is that I really let myself fall into a victim mentality when it came to work. I became very frustrated by not being able to find another opportunity as easily as I had hoped I would. So in 2020, I'm instilling a new mantra that I just read the other day, and it is no complaints, no explains. Wait. No complaining, no explaining. It's actually a mantra that comes from that old stiff upper lip British mentality, and it's one that the Queen holds to. And I really admire the royal family because, let's be candid, they get put through the ringer, and a lot of times they just kind of rise above it. Don't comment on it, don't explain themselves, they just proceed. I encourage all of you to do this. I look forward to hearing any of the lessons that you might learn as you go through this process. Thanks, guys. Hope you have a good one.